he just says something like, I mean, Israel's winning, aren't they? They're really good, aren't they? And you're supposed to say, But I mean, this is something that is as important to them as also the North-South corridor, the East-West corridor, and Iran as a huge resource. And they will say to Trump very clearly, we think it's a very bad idea, not least because if something happens, this was to be the surprise attack on Iran, and it was supposed to collapse a house of cards, which is the Iranian state. But I think all the indications are that some damage was sustained, but it hasn't pushed back. Oh, America, you now have to finish the job. You've got to go in and you've got to finish the job. Will be about the new Middle East. And I think this refers to Trump's vision. What Trump sees, and he imagines maybe, but this is how he sees the world, that there is a chastened Iran that now is forced just to watch what happens in the Middle East from the sideline. It was supposed to be the perfect little war. Trump described it as that. There was Michael Wolff, who was talking to a lot of people. He's written 4 books on Trump. And his technique is he goes and talks to people whom Trump talks to. And you don't get information from that. And Trump isn't really wanting a conversation. He just says something like, I mean, Israel's winning, aren't they? They're really good, aren't they? And you're supposed to say, yes, Mr. President. And then click, and it's off, and then he talks to someone else. But as Michael Wolff says, it's always the same thing. He's asking the same question to every interlocutor. So you get a feel of what he was looking for. And what he was looking for in the attack on Iran, and he said this, I mean, first of all, with the Israeli attack, because this is important, the Israeli attack, it was quite clear from all of these conversations that Michael Wolff was having, that this was a joint operation with America, effectively. This was to be the surprise attack on Iran, and it was supposed to collapse a house of cards, which is the Iranian state.
Crooke reveals Trump's expectations of Iran's collapse following the joint Asiroli nuclear facility strikes. The attack was meticulously planned using standoff weapons, drones, and covert operations rather than direct airstrikes. Trump repeatedly expressed confidence it would be game over for Iran's government, expecting a Syria-like state collapse.
While while the U.S. was planning on the following Sunday to have a further meeting and a negotiation with Iran. And during that period, I mean, he kept saying, on all of these calls, he said, they're going to win, aren't they? They're going to win. It's going to be a triumph. It's going to be game over. Isn't that right? And it's very clear from this that he thought it was going to be game over. In other words, the house of cards would collapse in Iran, and they would be like Syria. There would be no government. Everything would be immobilized. If you like, the decapitation of the military, the assassination of scientists. And it was a very well planned, I have to say. It was obviously took a lot of planning because, in a sense, that attack on Iran was deceptive because it was not an air attack on Iran as it's been presented. We had freedom of the skies. We flew wherever we want. It was not true at all. What really happened in the attack on Iran, as far as one can get all of the details, was that it was basically a combination of standoff weapons, drones, and covert sabotage, mounted initially from the Kurdish part. I mean, pre-positioned anti-tank missiles, all prepared. Then Israeli special forces came in to use, if you like, the American software, their spatial mapping, which allows targeting of these missiles, the Israeli special forces. But it wasn't air delivered. And then the only way in which the aircraft actually came in to Iran was through the north, from Syria right up north, which is all mountainous in Iran, very mountainous territory, very hard to pick it up and radar, into Azerbaijan airspace. Airspace from Azerbaijan, and went down to the Caspian, directly opposite to Tehran, and where they were firing a new mini cruise missiles, again from a standoff position. Not the aircraft going in, but from a standoff position. Now, it obviously took a lot of arranging, a lot of preparation, maybe years of preparation, coordination with the Americans to do all this. But what's the point? The point is, once done, you can't repeat it. It wasn't that it showed that Iran was open territory, you could fly in and bomb it to hell. They didn't prove that at all. It was all done from standoff operations and sabotage internally. People coming in, MEK coming in with little suitcases with drones in it that they assemble and fired off. And Trump was really excited during this period. As Michael Wolff said, he kept saying to people, it's going to be a great victory, isn't it? It's going to be a game changer. It's going to be a showstopper. I mean, the Israelis are so great, aren't they? So he clearly was expecting it to collapse. And that's the second fundamental point about this whole process was not only did it not collapse, it's actually had the counterproductive effect. It has fired up the Iranian public. The Iranian public are now, it was Ashura yesterday, and the Iranian public are full of a sort of new fervor and patriotism and support for the supreme leader. They are stronger. The country, the state, is now more unified and more, if you like, robust and hard-nosed than it's ever been in this process. So it didn't work. So yes, this plan that obviously so gripped President Trump, he said, that's so good, it's terrific, it's going to be a game changer, it's going to be wonderful. Actually, it was good tactically. I mean, it was professionally done. Pieces were pre-positioned, but it failed strategically. It did not collapse the House of Cards. And it's not likely that it's going to now, even less likely.
The Iranian attack proved tactically sophisticated but strategically failed. Rather than collapsing Iran's government, it strengthened national unity and public support. The operation involved pre-positioned Kurdish assets, Israeli special forces, and advanced American targeting software. Aircraft entered through Syria's mountainous north, firing mini-cruise missiles from standoff positions. This complex coordination took years of preparation, but cannot be easily repeated.
Well, we can't give you an answer to that categorically. But I think all the indications are that some damage was sustained, but it hasn't pushed back. And the Iranians say they're pushing ahead with the enrichment program. So why are they saying this? One of the reasons I think they're being very coy. I mean, they could come out and say, well, actually, Fordo was pretty well untouched, the whole, and it probably was because there's no. I think there are 5 entrances to Fordo. So they weren't all damaged or blocked off, and they're busily clearing them. There's been a lot of work. Why are they saying this? I think they're saying this for this reason, is because they anticipate, and it's already happening, that, Macron and all of the Europeans and the Americans too will be pressing to say, no, the IAEA must go back. They have to verify it under the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They are required to adjudicate and to monitor this. And this is what the West is likely to press Iran for that. And the answer is, at the moment, there is such anger at the IAEA and their betrayal of Iran and their passing of information to the Israelis to target all those scientists sitting in their home with their families, killing them overnight. There's such anger that if the IEA did step foot in Iran, they'd need a bodyguard of about 10 people to survive that, if they survived at all. I mean, it's over. They're not going to agree to that. The public is dead against it. But that pressure is coming. So it's quite an advantage that Trump says, look, there's no nuclear program. We destroyed it all, obliterated. So Iran can say, well, okay, if that's your position and that's what you assert, then the IEA are irrelevant. What are they coming for? There's no program for them to monitor. So you don't need to talk about it. But these are the two things that I think that are going to define the next period. One is the pressure for the some form of monitoring through the IEA, which I think Iran already says it will not have the IEA. And Russia is backing them because Russia had its own bad experience from the IEA in terms of Ukraine and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And it also believes that all of these Western organizations, like the Organization for the Protection Against Chemical Warfare, the OPCW, was totally an intelligence operation, British intelligence operation. So they're deeply skeptical too. So there won't be any push from Russia, despite Trump having asked for help to get the IEA back. The Russians are deeply skeptical. But what's going to come and this is the key point, just let me make this key point, is that clearly there's pressure mounting in the United States to put a squeeze onto Iran. And the way to do that is they're going to get to the Europeans to do snapback sanctions on Iran. Under the JCPOA, they have until October to do it. And they said in June they would go, the EU3, who are part of the JCPOA, said they would definitely do that. And that was what that resolution was, that, if you like, pretext for the sneak Israeli attack on Iran on the 13th, the day before the IEA had managed to get a resolution passed saying that Iran was in breach of its undertakings in the JCPOA. So when that happens, and they'll say, well, you have to, under the NPT, have accept snapback, and you have to accept that. I think that's when, I think it's almost certain, that's when Iran leaves the NPT. Can't do it overnight. It takes about 3 months, but that's when they'll leave the NPT.
Iran's nuclear program remains largely intact despite the attacks. Crooke suggests the Fordo facility wasn't significantly damaged, with Iran likely having relocated enriched uranium beforehand. The Iranian leadership refuses IAEA inspections, citing the agency's intelligence sharing with Israel that enabled scientist assassinations. Russia supports Iran's position, having experienced similar betrayals regarding Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia plant. European pressure for snapback sanctions under the JCPOA will likely trigger Iran's withdrawal from the Non-Proliferation Treaty within 3 months, fundamentally altering the nuclear landscape and eliminating international oversight mechanisms.
Yeah, his message is going to be clear to America, and it'll be said loudly and with cymbals clashing and everything. Oh, America, you now have to finish the job. You've got to go in and you've got to finish the job. Well, actually, because we did it, they're going to say. We were so successful. It was such a successful operation. Well, I've just indicated it wasn't. It probably didn't destroy the nuclear program. It didn't destroy Fordo. It didn't even destroy the enriched uranium, which probably there's very good, circumstantial evidence that actually the Iranians removed it. They say they did before the, if you like, either the 13th or the 22nd of June attacks. So it's still there. And so Israel wants it gone because, the program will probably be, now the Iranians are very clear. The Supreme Leader is clear. We are going to pursue enrichment, full stop. And we're not having the IEA come back. And if you push us to it, we'll leave the NPT. Now, where that takes us, we will see. But my guess, and this was what was sort of indicated from those discussions that Trump was having with his interlocutors on the telephone. I don't think, the whole idea of the attack on those 3 nuclear programs that Trump was planning and thinking about, he was very clear. I want this to be a perfect war. I want this to be in, boom, out. He kept saying this to people on the phone. It's going to be in, boom, out, finish, all done. It will be the perfect war. It will be beautiful. And it will be a showstopper, headline. It wanted to be the headline. We won. We finished off the nuclear program. But doesn't sound as if he wants a long war.
Crooke exposes the real agenda behind diplomatic facades, showing his ability to see through political theater to underlying strategic objectives.
I mean, I didn't know or didn't predict the 13th of June surprise attack on Iran, but it's entirely consistent with the whole process of first of all, presuming that what was the objective, American objectives, ultimate objectives, is in fact a regime change. Not only, or if not regime change, the destruction of the whole of Iran into, if you like, different groups, different ethnicities, all at war, rather like we see Syria is today or Libya was in the past, to make it chaotic, weak, unstable, and that was really the purpose. The talks were a blind. They were just a blind. They weren't serious about it. And I think I saw then that they were not serious because, when they asked for zero enrichment, and that they said also we want to bring the ballistic missile program into the talks too. I mean, this didn't seem to me a serious proposal, because it was inconceivable that Iran would either agree to zero enrichment.
Okay.
After all, and then it was very clear that what was on the table was a complete destabilization of Iran.
Crooke accurately predicted that Israel's attack would backfire, showing his deep understanding of Iranian society and the power of national unity under external threat.
Completely, utterly. It's changed the calculus altogether, because as I indicated, they thought that the 13th of June would break the spine of Iran. Instead of which, it's ignited Shia identity and Iranian national identity, and has created a huge fervor amongst not just all Iranians, but particularly about young people who maybe some years earlier were sort of disaffected, have come back, and and amongst, I think surprising for the West, amongst everything, was their love for the supreme leader. They expressed their support for the supreme leader. So this has changed, in a sense, everything, because rather than dealing with a broken state, they find they're dealing with a state that has rebounded quicker than anyone imagined it was possible. After the decapitations and the assassinations, new commanders were appointed, the war continued and inflicted huge cost on Israel, until ultimately it was Israel that, as they say in English, called uncle. I surrendered and said to the Qataris, to the Omanis, they said very quickly, for goodness sake, we need a ceasefire. We need to stop this.
Crooke provides brilliant insight into Trump's unique political methodology, explaining how declarative statements can reshape political narratives regardless of underlying facts.
It was politics. What he was trying to do was, how Trump manages politics is not by irrational statements. It is by reality TV. You have to have already seen reality TV to understand it. But it's what he says reality is that is what matters, not what the truth is. It's what he says, and that he believes by his personality he can dominate and impose that view. So, what he said to the Omanis was once and done. Okay, we're going to bomb these sites, and then it's over, and then we want the ceasefire. I think, first of all, he understood, because many people in the US understood that if it continued, it could actually go very much wrong for the United States, because it could be a defeat of Israel. And that would be a huge defeat for the United States. So he was at that point trying to manage this process through declarative statements that were completely unconnected with reality. It's his role, and then you quickly move to another topic, and that's where it is. Look, no one's talking about what's happening in Los Angeles or Elon Musk these days. It was this, and then he'll move it to another topic. The whole thing is to bulldoze the topics through quickly, so that no one has too long to think about it. But my point is here, it will become apparent that the nuclear program hasn't been set back for years. And so the Israeli pressure will continue, and the right-wing pressure will continue.
Crooke's assessment of Israeli military vulnerabilities proved accurate, highlighting his ability to see through propaganda to assess real battlefield capabilities.
Oh yes, I agree. The costs on Israel, economic costs, were huge, 12 billion in that 12 days period. But they were running out of intercept missiles. They were running out of the ability to stop, if you like, the missiles coming. It was, and the damage, we're only, they had a complete news blackout, so it's been very hard to get the extent of it. But now there's admissions, Channel 13 on Israeli channel, Hebrew channel, with, they're now admitting there was huge damage to the military structures of Israel. So yes, this is absolutely true. And you never know who the last person Trump listened to. Was it Ratcliffe? Was it David Barnea? Or Dermer, Ron Dermer? Or was it someone like Vance and some of the others saying, listen, Israel can't survive this. It's not going to be a great triumph for you and for the Trump project. This could end up in a disaster for the United States.
Crooke connects the dots between IAEA access and assassination operations with remarkable analytical precision, showing his ability to trace intelligence pathways that others miss or deliberately ignore. His forensic approach to understanding operational security breaches is masterful.
I think also for a long time it's been suspected, I can only use the word suspected, by not only Iran but other states too, that the ability of Iran, of Israel, to kill, I think it's 12 senior, if you like, researchers, nuclear scientists, to assassinate them in their homes with their families on the 13th. Where did that, all those details come from? Of course, they could have come from the ground, there could have been agents, but also it was, of course, the IAEA who insisted on questioning these scientists and having their details.
Crooke cuts through war propaganda with surgical factual analysis, refusing to accept unsubstantiated claims used to justify military action. His intellectual rigor in demanding evidence over speculation sets him apart from mainstream pundits who parrot official talking points.
I don't know that any decision had been made to move to a nuclear weapon. This is pure presupposition that has been adduced. I think it's far more likely that they will be moving, possibly, towards it. But it's not that straightforward. You see commentators in the West all saying, well, there's a balance of interests here, between various factors in Iran, and now the pendulum has swung to the hardliners, and so it's going that way. But the whole point of the fatwa and the review by the supreme leader is there's a thing in Shia Islam called ijtihad. Ijtihad allows law and, if you like, the Sharia to be amended according to the necessities of time and circumstances. And the only person who can do that, of course, is a jurist, a qualified jurist, which means you have to be Hojat al-Islam or an Ayatollah to be able to make that sort of appeal. But it won't be just made on a matter of interests. It will be made on a matter of what is Sharia, what is Islamic morality about who may be killed and not killed during a war. It is, if you like, the Shi'i version of the just war that Christians have. You know, what is a just war? Is it appropriate to take this action on the basis of, if you like, time and circumstance?
Right.
It may be that they will do that, but it won't be just a simple sort of, oh, well, the pressure is if we'd had a bomb, well, Israel could never have attacked us, so that's right, we're going to have it. It'll be more complex, but it may be. And the language coming out of Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, is really much tougher now, and saying there's been toing and froing, but with Trump saying originally there were rumors that he was offering 30 billion, peaceful investment in a nuclear project in Iran.
Crooke expertly tracks Trump's erratic policy signals with forensic precision, showing how personality-driven diplomacy creates dangerous confusion and systematically undermines serious negotiations. His chronological documentation reveals the chaos of improvised foreign policy better than any other analyst.
And then the supreme leader said, well, you didn't actually do that much damage, and we came out pretty well from this war. And he got in a temper and he said, well, there'll be nothing. And so, and the foreign minister of Iran said, no, we're not talking with Trump. There's no point in talking.